get your shit together. I'm waiting for you.
In December 2017, the UFC makes history when it crowns its first ever women's flyweight champion, adding to the list of famous names who first held belts in their respective weight class. This is a breakdown of the fighters who first touched UFC gold, based on their fight skill, reign as champion, and the long-term impact made in establishing the division. Welcome to INC, and this is a countdown of the UFC's inaugural champions. Number 11, Germaine de Randamie, women's featherweight. The legacy of women's featherweight is hard to judge in the long term, but if the reign of Germaine de Randamie is anything to go by, things are far from convincing. A veteran of the sport for nearly 10 years, de Randamie made her MMA debut in 2013, amassing a 3-1 record in the promotion, including wins over Julie Kedzie and Danish fighter Anna Elmos. Having competed at the weight during a time in kickboxing, de Randamie was given a shot at the UFC featherweight title, headlining UFC 208 against former bantamweight champion Holly Holm. After a strong start, de Randamie soon attracted controversy when she was penalised for an illegal strike at the end of the second round.
Oh no! That was after the bell. That was late. That was late and it was hard.
And again in the third.
Oh man, she did it again! Take a point away!
He's got to.
You gotta take a point away!
He's got to.
De Randamie, however, was never docked points, and after holding off Holm's wrestling, held on to claim a unanimous decision, becoming the first Dutch UFC champion since Bas Rutten in 2000. De Randamie's reign, however, would quickly turn sour, the Iron Lady earning ridicule for her refusal to fight #1 contender Chris Cyborg, and leading her to be stripped of the title after turning down a match with the Brazilian at UFC 214. De Randamie hasn't fought since the Holm fight and has no intention of returning to featherweight. Number 10, Dave Mene, middleweight. When most MMA fans think of Dave Mene, they think of his one-sided demolition at the hands of Phil Baroni at UFC 39, but the Warrior used hard work and a little luck to claim an unlikely UFC title in 2001. A graduate in Muay Thai, Mene earned a reputation as a hard-working journeyman, competing in promotions around the world, with his biggest win coming in 2001 against future welterweight champion Carlos Newton. Despite losing his company debut, Mene was given a shot at the UFC middleweight title, taking on 8-0 Gil Castillo on the undercard of UFC 33. With a high weight advantage, Mene made easy work of the former stockbroker, controlling the fight throughout to claim a unanimous decision win, setting the stage for what's widely considered one of the worst UFC pay-per-views of all time. Mene's reign, however, would be short-lived, losing the title to Murilo Bustamante at UFC 35, a man he'd share a long-term rivalry with over the next 10 years. Mene retired in 2012 with 45 wins and 17 losses. Number 9, Carla Esparza, women's strawweight. At 92 days, Carla Esparza holds the record as the shortest champion in UFC history, a victim of women's MMA's evolution over the past 5 years. Prior to competing in the UFC, Esparza made her name competing in the all-female promotion Invicta, going unbeaten over 3 years and claiming the 115-pound title with a decision win over Bec Rawlins. In 2014, Esparza competed on the 20th edition of the UFC reality show The Ultimate Fighter, with the winner having the honour of being the company's first strawweight champion. Coming in as the top seed, Esparza made easy work of her opponents, defeating Angela Hill, Tessia Torres and Jessica Penne to earn herself a place in the final against Rose Namajunas. There, Esparza continued her dominance, controlling the fight with grappling and ground strikes before finishing a young opponent in the middle of the third round.
3 career wins by submission for Esparza, all by rear naked choke, Kenny.
Namajunas trying to push that elbow out.
Here's the tap! Carla Esparza is the UFC strawweight champion of the world!
Esparza's reign as champion would be short-lived, the Cookie Monster finding herself dominated at the hands of Joanna Jędrzejczyk at UFC 185. Esparza has gone 2-1 since the fight and is currently ranked 9th in the strawweight division. Number 8, Pat Miletich, welterweight. To some fans, Pat Miletich is one of the most influential men in mixed martial arts. To others, he remains a symbol of the UFC's lack of stature during its early tenure. Making his debut in 1996, Miletich was quickly established as one of the sport's dominant welterweights, going unbeaten in his first 15 fights and winning the UFC welterweight tournament in his first event with the promotion. The win saw Miletich earn a shot at the company's welterweight title, where the Iowa native used his superior wrestling to earn a split decision over Mikey Burnett at UFC 17. During his time as champion, Miletich became one of the UFC's first pioneers, combining karate, kickboxing and wrestling into an all-round style, and guiding him to defenses over Jorge Patino, John Alessio and Kenichi Yamamoto. Despite this, however, Miletich's losses outside the UFC soon saw his title reign called into question, eventually coming to an end at the steroid-laden shoulders of Carlos Newton. After retiring from the sport in 2002, Miletich turned his attention to coaching, establishing the careers of Robbie Lawler, Tim Sylvia and Matt Hughes, and leading to his induction to the UFC Hall of Fame in 2014. Number 7. Jens Pulver, lightweight. Jens Pulver is one of MMA's most important figures, a man whose sprawling style and unflappable manner helped put lower weight classes on the MMA spectrum. The son of a licensed jockey, Pulver made his UFC debut in 1999, going unbeaten in his first 4 fights and leading to a lightweight title opportunity against shoot fighter Kaoru Uno. Pulver would make easy work of Uno, neutralising the Japanese star's offense to claim a majority decision, and becoming the company's youngest champion at the time at 27 years old. After beating Dennis Holman at UFC 33, Pulver faced a step up in quality when he took on BJ Penn at UFC 35. Penn had gone through a tear through the lightweight division, winning his last 3 fights in the first round, and many expected that trend to continue against Little Level. After surviving an early onslaught, Pulver came into his own at the start of the 3rd round, defending Penn's takedown attempts and even out-grappling the Hawaiian legend as the fight reached its latest stages. The fight back proved crucial, as Pulver was awarded the decision in what many consider one of the greatest lightweight fights of all time. The win would prove the highlight of Pulver's reign, contractual issues with the UFC seeing him leave the promotion to compete in boxing, while the lightweight title itself was put on hold until 2006. After a brief spell in Japan, Pulver returned to the US to compete with the WEC, where 1 win in 6 fights showed how far the division had come in his absence. Number 6. Mark Coleman, heavyweight. Mark the Hammer Coleman may have been short on glamour, but more than made up for it with brute force and aggression, traits that took him to a UFC title in 1997. After finishing 7th at the Barcelona Olympics, Coleman moved to MMA in 1996, winning his first 2 tournaments in dominating fashion, including a win over former tournament champion Don Frye at UFC 10. Coleman's success came largely due to his use of ground and pound, using his strength to overpower opponents before ending with strikes in the mounted position. Although the strategy existed long before, Coleman became one of the first MMA fighters to popularise the method, and named the Ohio native the moniker of the Godfather of ground and pound. When the UFC introduced weight classes in 1997, Coleman was immediately earmarked as a potential heavyweight champion, claiming the title in dominant fashion with a 2nd round submission over Dan Severn.
Those were little rabbit ones trying to get Coleman to move, shift position, and that's it. Coleman shoved him out, and Severn tapped out.
Many expected Coleman to be champion for years to come, but his title reign would come to an immediate end when he suffered a shock defeat to Morris Smith at UFC 14. After a 2nd loss to Pete Williams, Coleman followed his peers by competing in Japan, claiming wins over Shogun Hua and Igor Vovachin before ending his career at the age of 48.